Are you the administrator, Peyton?
Let's sing a song while
Here we
wait.
go. We're finally on.
Ah,
Well, sorry about that, folks. We're a little late getting to you.
oh,
But that's our crack IT staff of Okie and the Bear had a little trouble getting us going. But Tracy, meanwhile, while we were waiting, Tracy and I were looking through the Wall Street Journal business section.
your daughter just
And
came on.
as you can imagine, it's all about the virus, and we kind of want to talk about that a little bit. But look at these articles. Johnson & Johnson sales are down. The oil sector's in chaos because no one's driving and buying gas. There's firing people at Amazon that are concerned about their workers' safety. I imagine some lawsuits out of that. Here's a big one. Match has switched to video dating. That doesn't sound like much fun. And then you have this, and I didn't realize this, but there are 80,000 cruise workers on 100 ships still out at sea, and they're not letting them come to port. So a lot of stuff going on, Tracy.
Yeah, there is.
And we want to talk a little bit about that and kind of see how things are going in your world, and hopefully you'll kind of get on and let us know about that, because we'd like to know what kind of what gets you through your day. Maybe we can share that with some of the folks a little bit later on. But to kind of get us kicked off, tell us some things that are coming up on our online stuff from the church.
Well, this Friday we'll be releasing another one of the 60 seconds with the Psalms, or as I like to call them, 60 plus seconds, because I don't think I've hit 60 seconds yet. There's, of course, our online worship experience, which is on our website at verobeach.church on Sunday mornings. And then this next Tuesday, we've got our very first Coffee with Clay. Not Coffee with Clay. Lunch with Clay.
Well, you can do coffee. You can still drink coffee.
I drink coffee throughout the day, so that kind of works out for me. And then, just this regular stuff. We're trying to put more and more content out there. Just continue to watch, continue to come to our Facebook page. If you're not already liked our page, go ahead and do that, and you'll be able to get all of these updates as we put them out. So those are some of the things coming up.
Okay, and we would really like you all to pitch in on your comments as far as asking questions or giving us some insight that we can share with other people. And as I said, the first thing we were asking is, what are you doing to get through your day? Particularly those who are staying at home and not getting out at all. I know some of us can do that, but most of us are, sticking to that quarantine lockdown situation. We pray that gets done quickly as far as that's concerned. And as far as the questions you send in, we're going to do our best to answer them. But I think Peyton put it correctly in the email this afternoon that your answers could potentially be taken care of. We'll see. Depends what the answers are.
That's Okie, by the way.
That Okie is taking care of that for us. But anyway, Tracy, what do you think is going on with people out there as far as this isolation and staying at home? What do we have to be worried about?
Well, I think the main thing is that I hear is not so much people are depressed. I think people are getting depressed, but I think more people are just frustrated, a little bit angry, just kind of the blahs, getting the blues a little bit, as we call them. And, just not knowing what to do with yourself. I think a lot of that has to do that a lot of people are just out of rhythm, and which kind of goes to the lesson that Peyton's going to be doing this Sunday. I encourage you to really tune in these next couple of weeks, because the title of the lesson is going to be Rhythm, because I think that's where we are. We're just all kind of out of our normal rhythms of life, even though Peyton and I still come up here and do, work on sermons and the videoing and all this kind of thing. It's still very different than what we're used to. So even for us to get out of a rhythm, that was a motorcycle that just went by, if you were able to hear that. So that's what I see more than anything else. It's just people they're just sick and tired of being at home.
Yeah. And for those of you who are joining us that maybe aren't members of our church, my name's Joe Wild. I'm an elder here. Tracy Moore is one of the preachers here, and we wanted to go live. We've been doing a lot of videos taped, but we wanted to go live tonight just so we could have a little interaction with those of you who are tuning in. In any event, yeah, we've got this going on, and I think part of it, Tracy, is whenever things like this happen, these kind of big events, if you want to call big events, your kind of self-preservation mode kind of kicks in. You've got a threat out there, so you start thinking about how am I going to protect myself and my family, and then you have anxiety about the future, and in a situation like this where there's so much uncertainty, you really can't figure out how is this going to end. Is it as bad as they say it is? Is it worse than they're telling us? There's two sides of it, as far as that goes. And so you have a lot of you get that anxiety, and like you're saying, you get frustrated, you may get angry, and then there is depression to worry about. And I know you've got history of dealing with that. You've preached about that before. My wife has dealt with that, and so really familiar with it. And this is the kind of thing that might happen in a situation like this. So what the focus becomes inward, and you're stuck in the home, and that's a problem. And what do we see? You see irrational thoughts, and you're in the self-protection mode. Now, I'm not sure why you think a bunch of toilet paper is going to protect you. But those are the irrational things that happen, right? I mean, in other words, you go out and you start hoarding things, and you think you need to get this and that, and you got to do it right now. And pretty soon you're in a foot race with somebody to try to get to the last toilet roll, and maybe even getting in a fight about it. Mm-hmm. So, how do we, what do we do? How do we get through the day? How do we reduce that anxiety? And so that's why we're looking for some advice from you all out there, and maybe Tracy, you could talk about some things to do that might help and alleviate that anxiety and fear.
Yeah, for me, all through the years, or for many, many years, it's been the book of Psalms. Psalms is one of those things that kind of help correct my thinking, because a lot of times our feelings and emotions, they really are connected with what we think, which is why you should turn off the news as much as you can, because you just keep getting that kind of thought process in your head, and it gets you down. So the Psalms for me, it's just a way to vent. It's a way to correct that, where my trust really needs to be, the fact that I'm not in control, and allows me to be able to do just a lot of things, that maybe I wouldn't have been able to do before. The other thing for me is I love music. I've always loved music. I've always loved Christian music. And so I listen to a lot of songs, and I listen to things that are very soothing to me. I like all types of music. And music is something that puts you in a mood. If you're in a really good mood, I'm probably going to hit Elvis, or other times there'll be
country music.
Well, there's country music, yes, classic country, not the new stuff. But yeah, I think all those things just help correct your thinking a little bit, to put you really back where you need to be at times.
So, I don't know if we're getting any suggestions in on how to deal with the day when you're stuck at the house and doing all that, but I know for me, I like to read, so I'm stocking up on some good books and starting to, reading through. So I got 3 or 4 books I'm reading at the same time, and just taking one, back and forth between them. And that's soothing for me, and that passes some time. I've got a yard to work in, so I get out and do some work. Being careful about what I'm eating. I'm not sitting around overeating. I still want to get out and do some exercise, and walk. Get some walking in, and do those kind of things that just makes the day kind of move along, and takes up the day. But it keeps me, as we were talking about, in a good rhythm.
Yeah, something else I think about right now is, just thinking about good things, positive things. That's a very biblical concept. Comes right out of Philippians 4, I think it's verse 8. It says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things." And I think through the day, those of us who are Christians, we've got a biblical concept, a biblical mindset that allows to help us through some of these positive thoughts, despite how terrible things may be. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the cross, I think, is to show that what looked like disaster was actually the liberation of humanity. And there's a lot of good things. Joe mentioned some things here that are good to do as well. And so, things like today, something that was very positive, you actually sent me an article. Today's Jackie Robinson Day. And this is when the color barrier was broken. And right here in Vero Beach, Florida, was a big part of that, because this is where spring training for the Dodgers, when he first started. And it's those types of things that just kind of keep you going and keep you motivated, I think.
We're getting some people sending some stuff in. We got, talking about, having a schedule and keeping your schedule going, and, having a routine. We've got, somebody is a good quilter and is doing a lot of quilting. There's a lot of things like that going on out there. Mackenzie, who is staying in the house in front of my house, says she likes the yard guy who's working in the yard, so appreciate that, Mackenzie. And there is one other person that likes Elvis that had a comment in there. So there's two Elvis people in Vero Beach.
Was it Catherine? Was it Kathy?
No,
I bet it was.
It was.
Was it not Kathy?
No.
Oh.
I'm not telling you who it was.
Because I think she liked it.
But a lot of different people are reading and doing things like that. Good time, though, also to organize, get out there and clean out that garage and do those kind of things. But just keep busy and don't sit around, like Tracy says, listening to the bad news and just feeling bad about it.
Yeah. Let
me ask you this too, some of you all out there. What changes do you think this pandemic's going to bring? Because I think there's going to have to be some changes. Now, there's some real positive changes in my mind. First of all, maybe we can do away with hugging, and not, and the handshakes can go away, and we can actually keep that 6 foot. That's about my personal space, is about 6 feet.
Yeah, so, you've been preparing this for a long time.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this. But what are some changes that you think are going to come out of this? Because there's just going to have to be some changes, because this is too big a disruption in our life. Something that I don't think any of us have been part of, with this lockdown, almost nationwide lockdown. Of course, we've got folks that lived through the Great Depression, and there's a lot of people saying this is going to be as bad or maybe close to the Great Depression. I'm not sure it is going to be, as far as that's concerned. And those of you who lived through the Great Depression are probably thinking not even close to that. But there's gonna be changes. We talked Sunday. Tracy talked Sunday about Jesus rising from the dead. Talk about a big change. And that event happens and things change. And one of the things that changed, and this is where I think we're going to see some things like this happen, And maybe I'm not kidding about the hugging. We may decide that's not a good thing to do anymore, at least for the next couple of years while this thing hangs around. But just think about the fact that the folks who were the disciples who were following Jesus were good Jews who kept the Sabbath faithfully on Saturday. And Jesus rises from the dead on Sunday, and all of a sudden they're worshiping on Sunday. That is a radical change. It's evidence of the resurrection, obviously. The folks that were so faithful to that Saturday Sabbath all of a sudden are now worshiping together on Sunday. So what kind of changes do you think might come up out of this pandemic for us? What you got some thoughts on that, Tracy?
Well, I think of a lot of things. I mean, I think one of the good things that's happened, and I think it's been a good awareness for people like me who, you know, I'm a big environmental guy. I think we ought to take care of the planet God has given us. And we're seeing, you know, some real changes in the atmosphere. We're seeing changes in the water. We're seeing a lot of good positives that people are looking at saying, you know, this is really nice. I think churches are going to see some changes. You know, we're all online, and I think we're all really anxious to get back to our church buildings. Not that the building itself is sacred, but, you know, this is where we gather. And so, you know, but I think there's a lot of things that we always considered as maybe even sacred that we're realizing maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just it had to do with the building, and there was a stigmatism that went along with it. But I think that we're going to have a greater appreciation for what really the mission of the church is about. And so I think there's going to be some good changes. There will definitely be some changes in how we do things. You know, you mentioned the Great Depression. For those who had grandparents, maybe that lived during that time, or maybe you lived during that time, I know I had grandparents, they wouldn't throw away anything. You know, they saved everything. And I imagine we're going to come out of this and we're all going to have just stockpiles of toilet paper because this is going to affect us that much. But seriously, I think there's just going to be changes, and I don't even know if we have any idea of what those changes are going to be right now.
Well, we got some good things coming in online also. We've got David Van Hooser. He's saying maybe we'll be better at staying in touch with people and keeping in touch with family and friends. I definitely think we're calling people a little bit more and staying in touch like that. Kathy Pattison, maybe not driving and flying as much, definitely probably not flying as much, or at least start wearing masks more regularly, just like we see the folks from the Far East do a lot more often than we do. So probably that will be done. And, you know, I think maybe we'll see a pretty good, boost to family life as we get used to spending a lot more time together and finding out that we kind of like spending a lot more time together. I know we want to kid about, oh man, we're stuck with the kids all day long. I think we're going to find out that's not too bad. That's not too bad to be stuck together like that. Of course, my family, Glenda homeschooled all our kids. We're prepared for a COVID event. Some other folks, maybe not, but they're going to find out it's not too bad being at home like that. Got a comment from a daughter, Andrea. She says maybe people will appreciate the small things more, and we definitely, I think, are going to do that when you're stuck at home. So that would be good, a good thing that would come out of this. But I think we're finding out work-wise, we can work online. A lot of us can. Tracy said church. We're doing church online, and is that going to change somehow the way we do church and the way we get together? I don't know. My kids in college. We've got one left. My son's left in college. He's doing online classes, but he's home. I mean, I don't know if he likes that or not, particularly when gets all said and done. But it's something that can be done. Maybe make college a little cheaper for everyone and more reasonably priced. As far as that's concerned. The other thing I'm hoping would be a positive is, when they advise us to have 3 months savings for our living expenses in the bank, I think a lot of people are finding out that's pretty good advice at this point in time. And as far as government's concerned, we might want to think about maybe it is a good idea to try to get a little bit better balance in the budget, so when these things happen, we're not completely going crazy with our debt. But I don't know. Well, we got a couple minutes left, and we have a giveaway. And so my partner Vanna White here is going to show you the shirt that we want to give away. And we're a Church of Christ, and our tradition and our heritage goes back to, really, we talk about two men here in the United States who kind of partnered up and started what we recognize nowadays as the Church of Christ. One of them was Alexander Campbell. We want you to give us your guess. No Googling, please.
Yes. We know what you're doing on your computer, so don't try it.
Don't try it. But who's the other man? Get your answers in. If we have more than one correct answer, Peyton, or as we call him, Okie, is going to pull it out of the hat, the winner, and we'll announce that in just a few minutes as far as that's concerned. Final thing I want to ask you. It's been kind of a downer with this virus hitting and the people that are getting sick and being stuck at home. But what's a good thing? What's a good thing for you in 2020? How's 2020 been a good year for you, despite this virus thing? And I'm going to ask Tracy first. What's a good thing?
Well, I've learned a lot of good things as we've gone through this thing. You mentioned family and being together. I mean, two of my kids, college kids, they're at home, and we can't go anywhere, so it's almost like Christmas a little bit. So we're doing dominoes and playing Sorry and Monopoly and things like that together, or watching movies. So I've enjoyed that time that I've had personally. So for me, that would be one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Well, it's really good to see what I call America stepping up. I think that's a good thing. You see in this pandemic, in this crisis, in this thing that's happening, people pulling together. You see nurses traveling to different places to help out in the hot spots. You see corporations retooling their assembly lines so they can put out ventilators and masks. And you see the New England Patriots flying their team plane over to China to pick up stuff to help out in Massachusetts. You see all kinds of things like that going on, just really good things that makes you proud to be living in this country, and just proud to be an American, and proud to be hanging around with a community that is generous and giving and serving. So that's a good thing that I see. Personally, I've got my first grandkid on the way, so it's going to be a big 2020.
Yes, it is.
For the wild thing.
Yes. And somebody I noticed, I think it was Mike McGee, mentioned his thing was the new Founders Hall, which is what we're sitting in here. That was something new here in 2020. So we had the big grand opening, and then everybody went into quarantine. So basically, Peyton and I have enjoyed this new Founders Hall more than anybody.
You're actually looking in the library. That's the new library in the Founders Hall, where Peyton and Tracy kind of sit around and drink their coffee, and we're not sure exactly what they're doing during the day.
We pray in here. This is a nice prayer room.
Yeah,
yes.
We're not sure about that because we're not allowed within 10 feet of the building, apparently,
yes.
while they're here. But we have some folks that are Diane saying Ron's retired, and that's big for 2020. And we've got other people indicating they're just grateful for the online stuff, and Kathy Pattison is just glad to be in this beautiful world, and Kathy's always got that attitude, so that's great. I don't know if you got anybody else that you're seeing come up on there, Tracy. We're about out of time, but we also want to see who is the winner before we
Do we have a winner?
But we'll get it from Oki in a minute. But just want to remind you that this Sunday is our worship online experience that you can catch us on Sunday morning, and then Tuesday at noon you can make your sandwich, get a cup of coffee or a soft drink out, and visit with Clay online as he brings us a little lesson on Tuesday at noon.
You want to go ahead and announce a winner for?
Well, if I could.
It's the bottom.
Oh well, this is appropriate.
Yes.
Carol Van Hooser, she's got it right, and I don't know, was she the only one?
She was the first one.
First one
Okay.
to get in with it. So Carol, you've got a T-shirt.
And Peyton will get with you on the size, that type of thing. So congratulations, very good. I'm glad more than one person got it. That's good.
Yeah, cool.
And also, just want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Fellowship Cup. Well, it's not really, but it is. These are our communion cups, the ones that you can take home with you. We'll have those outside of the office. You can just come by. Just make sure you use the hand sanitizer out there before you reach in and get them. We'll have it between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock in the morning, so you can pick these up if you need any more. All right.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. We're obviously going to, this is our first time doing this, so we will look at how awful we look on the video when we do that. And I know Tracy's head is too shiny. We'll take care of that for the next time. We didn't have time to get the makeup crew in here. And
Low budget.
That's just what we got. But appreciate you all being with us. Have a great rest of the night. God bless you all.